The 7 major challenges faced in monitoring and evaluation. Hi, I'm your host, Coach Alexander, and welcome to Monitoring and Evaluation Made Simple. If you're here for the very first time, please do it to subscribe to this channel because on a regular basis I post updates in M&E. So today we're going to be looking at the topic you see right in front of you, and I feel it's a very important topic. So please take full advantage of this timestamps because it's a long video, and please, wherever need be, you can write to me in case of any questions. I'll be able to respond soon as possible. So as usual, I have these free ebooks I'm giving out for free. The link is in the description below. Please do well to download these ebooks. They are totally free. You don't have to pay anything. And most importantly, they are simplified, especially for the beginners. So please find time to download these ebooks. They are for you. They are meant to help you improve in M&E. Then I have a course I'm running on Udemy. It's called How to Set Up a Monitoring and Evaluation System. It's a very, very, very good, powerful course, guys. I've gotten high reviews on this course, and I would like you to enroll in it, please. Find time to enroll in it. It's cheap right now. As you can see, it's about $12 somewhere there. You won't lose anything, but it's valued at $99. But just go ahead, enroll in it, and tell me how you feel. Okay, so let's get started with this tutorial, training, or whatever you want to, to call it, okay? So now the thing is that we need to understand what a challenge is for us to understand the challenges that are faced in monitoring and evaluation. So a challenge mainly is an obstacle, okay? Especially when you want to do something, you're being hindered from doing what you need to do as an M&D professional. And I've faced these things throughout my career in M&D. Whichever sector you go in, unfortunately, wherever you go and place yourself in, you're going to have a challenge such as the one I'm going to present to you. There's going to be some hindrance in you performing your duty as an M&D professional. So this is what I want to talk about today, because I feel that when you get to know the challenge, it's going to help you prepare for it, and then you're going to I'm also proposing ways in which you can solve that challenge. So this is a long video, so please do well to use the timestamps in the description below. Okay, so the 7 challenges faced in monitoring and evaluation, these are the following. Management commitment to M&E is low. All right. And for those of you who are working right now, it could be for an NGO or it could be for any other sector. Unfortunately to say, I'm sure you've noticed that sometimes management don't really feel that M&E is necessary in the organization, even though they've budgeted for it. Okay, so now you know what happens there. You know how you interpret this. You know, it's either the donor wants M&E to be implemented in that organization, or that manager or that group of that management team may have found that M&E position already running, so they just had to run with it. So now this is a huge problem, because if there's no management commitment to monitoring and evaluation, even when you want to do an activity, there will be problems. You have to do a lot of convincing, you have to do a lot of talking just for a simple, relevant activity. So this is a huge problem. And I think there's just that feeling that it's not really something you need a professional to do. But what I've seen is that you really need professionals for this. And I think in future I'm going to tell you why, but this is so now if you are facing resistance, if management are not supporting you, this is what you do, guys. You need to engage and sensitize the management team. All right. One way you can do that is by regularly giving them proposals of how well the M&D system for the organization can improve. So once in a while, it could be every quarter, you're giving them proposals. That's a way of sensitizing them. Or you can ask them, you can personally ask, it could be your immediate supervisor, that you'd want to sit down with management and explain some of the future prospects that you want to see in the M&D system. And it's in that, once they give you that opportunity to engage them, that's your opportunity now to explain to them why this system is important, why there needs to be that commitment. All right. You also have to explain to them what it will mean if you have a strong M&D system, because donors want to see a strong M&D system. It shows trust, it shows accountability, and people are willing to work with organizations that have such characteristics. So you really need to engage them, since, and it's not going to be an immediate solution. It won't be, you won't see immediate results, but once you engage them over time, you are going to see that things will be slowly opening up for you. And try by all means to be patient and also add value to the organization. Don't make them feel that they are wasting money on you. No, but make sure that you're adding value. Okay, so another challenge is the limited financial support to M&E. Okay, so this challenge may be emanating from the fact that there's limited management buy-in, okay, sometimes, but it can also be emanating from the fact that the whole project itself is not properly funded, okay. So it could be that the whole the amount of funds that the project management team were able to receive is limited, and that is also limiting how much they can put in M&D. So now when you have a challenge like this, it's complicated, it's usually out of your control, but in cases where it's within your control, this is what you can do. There has to be a budget revision. So let's say for some reason this project is receiving a lot of money, okay. For some reason they're receiving a lot of money, but they are not committing enough money to M&E. So this is where now there has to be a budget revision. So now to have that budget revision again, you need to engage management. So like what I said in the previous slide is what you should do even here. You need to justify why you need added support. If they won't give you that added support, then that's their decision, okay. But if they do, in the event they do give you that support, use that money wisely. Make sure that it's really doing, it's fulfilling its intended purpose, okay. That's all I can say. So usually this is a bit outside your control, but there are certain things you can do. You can try by all means to ask for a budget revision. Okay, then another big challenge, and guys, this is big. I've seen this so many times. It's a big one. Lack of involvement of M&D personnel in the planning stage. I don't know what it is, why people trust consultants more than their own M&D personnel. Consultants, when you bring in a consultant on board, yes, they are rich in experience, you know, but they don't have the technical, many of them I've seen don't really have the technical know-how when it comes to M&E. And that is why if you're not involving M&D personnel at planning stage, you'll find that even the development of indicators, the way the indicators will come out, won't be the way they should. And mind you, if you have poorly developed indicators, it will have a huge bearing on how you're going to collect this information, analyze it, and report on it. It's going to have a very huge bearing. And that is where now, when you have all this data collected, you don't even know what it means because the indicators in the first place were poorly developed. So now, what I've seen is that when a project is starting, they do the project. Okay, the project development team has the project developed. They put in their indicators, and then when it is running, when the project has already started running, when the project document is already approved, that is when now they involve M&D personnel, which shouldn't be the case. So a solution to this is this: M&D officers should be involved in the planning of projects. Okay, and I want to believe that the monitoring and evaluation personnel around the world are highly skilled when it comes to the development of indicators. Okay, so our business really is that the project's indicators should be easy and understandable, such that when we are now even developing the M&D system, we have those indicators that are properly designed, and we will put them in that system, and you're going to see that the M&D system itself will be fulfilling its intended purpose. But if you don't involve them, it becomes a problem. Another thing why you need to involve these officers, it's also the issue of budgeting. Because like I earlier mentioned, people who are not the professionals of this, they don't fully understand what is involved in M&E. So they'll tend to under budget, you see, and because of that notion that no, M&D can be done by anybody, they'll under budget it, and then they'll be the same ones complaining because you don't have, because you couldn't do the job due to insufficient funds. You see, so that's where the confusion comes in. So you have to, these officers need to be involved at planning stage. Okay, so then another problem is management interference in M&D implementation. Okay, so now I hope you don't think that the management is the villain here. No, they are not. But I think they are not fully, they don't sometimes fully understand why this function is there. So sometimes when you propose an activity, let's say you want to do certain M&D activities in the field, there will be sometimes that resistance because maybe they feel that you may be blowing money, but I can guarantee you that the interference affects the rate at which these activities are done. Okay, it could even affect the reporting cycle to donors. So if you are a manager listening to this, one thing I can tell you is that please allow M&D personnel to do their jobs. When they do their jobs, you're going to see that the the output, the final product you're going to get, because they've done their jobs, will be not only advantageous to you, but even to the organization. Because when you have a report which donors can embrace, which donors can easily understand, it's going to be advantageous to you. And also, these reports need to be submitted on time. So it's important that the M&D personnel are not hindered. And also, what I've noticed is that sometimes you're giving them roles that is not even part of their job description, and because of that, that is what affects their final output. You're giving them too many roles which are outside M&D, and then they end up failing to deliver their core function. So we need to work on that. Then another problem, this one is epic, guys, you know, and I've seen this happen And it's just simple, really. Nobody wants to be criticized, not so. But this is what M&D does sometimes. It's going to bring out the findings the way they are, but then there will be resistance. Okay. So the reason is that, for instance, once an evaluation is done, you have these independent consultants come do an evaluation, and they come up with negative findings, which even when you yourself look at it, these are this is what is on the ground. Okay. So what is the solution to this? Okay, we shouldn't resist. Okay, it's not good to resist these findings because there are areas where we need to improve. Remember, monitoring, the main purpose of monitoring and evaluation is learning and improving. Okay, in our personal lives, that is how we grow. Personally, in your own life, even in my life, you learn from your mistakes, you grow, you make corrections, you make targets, things like that. So when you're criticized, of course, it can be a bad reflection of how the project was managed. And this is why I always mention that before you have a consultant do the evaluation, do an internal evaluation of your project. Okay, so that when this consultant comes now to evaluate you, you are able to be prepared that, okay, these are the findings he may hit us with. Okay, so you can have some ample time to correct those issues and look good, look better when a consultant comes. But it's not even about looking better at the end of the day. We just want to improve. We want to work on our weaknesses. And when you are, one thing for sure, if you are doing M&E the right way, even these weaknesses which consultants may come and see, they will never see them because during the monitoring stage, you were correcting them. And that is why you need to really, monitoring and evaluation personnel need to get fully involved in the implementation of the project. Then another issue, which is not really a challenge, but it can happen, is the lack of alignment to regional and global strategies. Okay. So I talked about this. You've got the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. It's good for your projects to be aligned to those global goals. Okay. Because we are all feeding ultimately to a global agenda. All right. So, and also it helps you benchmark, if let's say at global level this is the statistic, your indicator is giving a different statistic, you'll be able to gauge and say, okay, we are not doing well compared to the average. So it's important at planning stage, these are well aligned, and then things will be okay. Then this is another thing I noticed, is that we don't seem to use scientific research methods. All right. And what this means is that, let's say your project is targeting 1,000 beneficiaries. If you're going to collect, if you're going to sample those beneficiaries, the sample size should be scientifically selected. You can't go and say, okay, out of these 1,000, you only interview 20 people as a representation. That is totally, totally, totally wrong. You know, you have to use the, if you want to get the right information, everything should be done scientifically well. Okay. And this is why at evaluation stage, and I think this is mainly for the consultants, but if in the event you're doing an internal evaluation, use scientific methods. Also, even when it comes to setting targets for your indicators, you need to be using scientific methods of setting targets. Because when you do that, then you're doing a proper way of things. You're doing things the proper way. Okay. So this is all I had today. I thank you so much for being part of this presentation. I'll be posting videos regularly, and remember, I'm still doing the review of the Sustainable Development Goals report. So until we meet again, I've been your host, Coach Alexander, and see you on the other side. Bye.